Hi there. Welcome to this lecture on perceived and objective risks in cyberspace. My name is Bibi van den Berg and I work at the Institute of Security and Global Affairs of Leiden University in the Netherlands. Today I will tell you a little bit about the many faces of cybersecurity risk and the key challenges with respect to citizens' perceptions of these risks. Let's begin by asking ourselves, what is risk in relation to cyberspace? There's no easy answer to that question. Risks come in many forms and guises in cyberspace. One of the most tangible and high-impact risks revolves around targeting so-called critical infrastructures. Think of waterworks, food and water supply systems, but also transport systems or healthcare institutions. If these elements of a nation's infrastructure fail, this leads to significant societal and economic disruption. So, what does that have to do with cyberspace? Many critical infrastructures today are connected to the internet for reasons of efficiency. Operators can then access systems remotely. But if operators can, so can hackers, of course. What does that mean in practice? One risk could be that a hacker would open a dam and flood a large area of land. Another could be that outsiders could change the chemical composition of our drinking water, which may lead to health risks. Or an attacker could let a pipeline explode by increasing the pressure inside it. A second large cluster of risks relates to military activities. Cyberspace can be used as a battleground for wars between states, using cyber weapons to attack the opponent's critical infrastructure, with all the potential risks we just discussed. Attackers, be they military or civilian, could also tamper with another country's media or meddle with internet availability, thus effectively putting citizens in the dark. These two clusters of risk all relate to the level of the nation-state. But unfortunately, cybersecurity risks are not just a problem for national governments, the military or the international community. A wide range of cybercrimes may target industries, individual businesses and organizations, and even citizens. Think of, for example, stealing or manipulating data, cyber theft, making information or services unavailable, cyber terrorism and hacktivism, or disrupting and damaging systems through malware. The impact of such crimes may vary, but we do witness a steady increase in their occurrence in many countries around the globe. As you've heard in the introduction, it is difficult to establish exactly how big each of these categories of risks objectively are. We have very little historical evidence to go on. However, experts all agree that the categories of risk that we just discussed are at the top of the agenda, at least with respect to the potential disruption they may cause. But what about perceived risks in relation to cyberspace? Do these align with the objective risks we have described? The answer is no, but perceptions do vary depending on who you ask. Nation-states sometimes overestimate cybersecurity risks and threats. They may use rhetoric on the risk of a cybersecurity Chernobyl or a digital Pearl Harbor. But in fact, to date, no cybersecurity incidents have materialized that warrant such a label. Interestingly, however, citizens oftentimes underestimate cybersecurity risks and threats. For them, the most important cybersecurity risk is that of privacy violations, and even those are highly underestimated by many people. But citizens oftentimes are entirely unaware of the consequences online actions may have in the offline world. The risks we discussed at the beginning of this video on remotely accessing critical infrastructures are a prime example. Such risks could lead to large-scale death and destruction, but very few citizens recognize these risks for what they are. So, how can we explain the overestimation of risks by nation-states and the underestimation by citizens? The answer to both lies in the fact that there is very little precedent. As you've heard in the introduction, we cannot use facts from the past to make predictions with respect to future cybersecurity risks. For nation-states, that means that the balance tips towards oftentimes politically fueled rhetoric that inflates the risk. By the same token, for citizens, the balance tips in the other direction because of their lack of awareness and knowledge. So, what have we learned? First, that cybersecurity risks come in many guises and target different actors. Second, that the biggest risks lead to destruction or disruption in the offline world. And third, that different actors have different perceptions of these risks. States tend to overestimate them, whereas citizens tend to underestimate them. In the next video, we will talk about some of the strategies that are used to deal with cybersecurity risks.